Hey, it's William Armelini from Flowers and Scents with your floral industry buzz. Okay, today I really have the pleasure to interview Terril Nell. Terril Nell is a researcher and sort of the guiding light behind the American Floral Endowment. He was just inducted into the Hall of Fame at SAF. He's one of those unsung heroes behind the scenes that has been doing research for flowers and solving problems for flower growers and importers for uh, 50 years, I think. So I'll let him tell you the story. So without further ado, Mr. or Dr. Terril Nell. All right, Mr. Terril Nell, Dr. Terril Nell, because I got to use all your right nomenclature here because you have so many accolades and letters behind your name. I don't know what to do about all that. And just coming from watching you get the elected into the Hall of Fame, or inducted, I should say, into the Hall of Fame at SAF. Congratulations for that. But you know what that means? You know, once you get it in the Hall of Fame, next you're out.
Let's hope not. I have to stay in touch with my friends.
Yeah, well, you're in and you're retiring, which is good because you need to spend a little time up there in the mountains. But I have a feeling that I have not seen the last of you, sir. So I have a feeling we'll be bumping into each other. And for that matter, you and I have sort of bounced around a little bit at each other over the years and crossed paths in many cities and countries and you know, honestly, it wasn't until maybe the last, I don't know, a couple of years that we actually sat down and chatted a little bit and got beyond just hello, how are you? And you know, you were that educational doctor that you know, while you're very approachable, you know, I wasn't in that league for a while, nor am I now, by the way. Um, but we've been around long enough that we can have this conversation, and part of this conversation is the fact that you were retiring, supposedly, and therefore I thought I'd grab you while I can and chat with you a little bit about who is Terril Nell and how did you get into this crazy business of flowers? Um, you're a gator. Am I right there?
Well, you know, I tell people I'm a gator because they gave me a check for, monthly for 35 years. So I guess I have to be a gator.
Oh, I would be a gator too in that respect.
But my wife and I both attended Auburn, so we have an allegiance there.
Okay.
And then NC State, and then Michigan State, and then
Okay, so
back to UF for my career.
so you worked with did you work with Mr. Stalby, with Greg Stalby as well? He was at Ohio, right?
No, he was Ohio State.
Yeah.
I did work with NC State with Roy Larson.
Okay.
Who was quite a figure in the floriculture world.
Yeah.
With his flowery ties.
Oh, yes.
But he was a great mentor and a good person to do graduate work with. And he taught me one thing that I think, and others have taught me things, but Roy really brought it down to a simple term. We'd have industry come in to look at research and talk about teaching and so forth. And Roy's comment was, if what we're doing isn't relevant, then we shouldn't be doing it. And I've carried that with me a lot of my life.
It's a good phrase there. I like it. And what struck me at this last convention and watching all the people parade up there and get their awards was that the passion in this business, you know, there's this underlying thing that's sort of hard to describe, and I don't think you can really appreciate it unless you go to these events and and witness what happens at these well, particularly SAF events because of the endowment and different things. It's hard to imagine anybody really grasping this unless they actually go to these things. And you and I have had the pleasure to go to many of these, and I would think that's something underlying that's hard to describe.
Yeah, I think it definitely is. And I look back and think we really lost those connections during COVID.
Boy, did we ever.
And I'm just hoping we can regain some of that because I do think, as you do, that the personal interaction connecting, networking at events like SAF. We have the whole industry, wholesale, grower, wholesale, retail, shippers, everybody is there. And it's a great time of discussion, friendly
Yeah,
discussion, I'll add.
yeah, and you know what I've learned about this business from many levels is that people do business with people. You
Yep.
know, I look at the flower business and often wonder, okay, you have so many vendors, and how does somebody choose? Okay, this vendor over that vendor, everybody's offering high quality flowers. You know, how do you make those decisions? And I'm almost always comes down to personality and people that made a connection, and I trust you, you trust me. I'm going to buy your flowers.
Yeah. I I see that even in the outstanding variety contest. People submit their flowers, and if they talk to me or you or others, they say ours are definitely the best. And yet, when the winner's announced, they're all supporting each other. And I
Yes.
think that's just such a great trait that really represents this industry well.
Hey, just so going back all the way to the beginning, what sort of sparked your interest in horticulture?
um, I told this brief story um, when I was given the Hall of Fame award on last Saturday night or Saturday night a week ago. Um, it was sparked, I think, I give credit to um, one of my grandmothers, who, when I was 7 or 8, handed me this packet of things.
The
I didn't know what it
seeds.
was.
Yes, I remember now.
And I said, what is this? What am I supposed to do with this? She said, well, it's seeds. Just tear it open and go over there, rough up the ground, sprinkle them over the top, and let's see what happens. Well, darn, they flowered. And it was marigold seeds. And I still vividly remember those marigolds. Um, During growing up, to make a little money when you couldn't work legally, I mowed lawns. Uh, I enjoyed that. It proved to me, though, that I did not want to mow lawns the rest of my life. Um, but it was a good way to meet people and do something. And then my next door neighbor, one of my next door neighbors, owned a retail florist.
Ah,
And I grew up in Pensacola, Florida. Uh, Longtime family. I'm actually fourth generation.
okay.
And so I knew Pensacola very, very well. And I was willing to drive her delivery van.
Yeah.
And so I delivered flowers for a couple of summers. And I also did it at holidays. And they would give me the routes that nobody else knew.
Because
And so I did
you knew
that.
the area, right?
And so that was really worthwhile. But it also, as I reflect on it, gives me a sense of how much the industry changed or has changed.
Hmm.
And you know this from your background. Um, but as the driver, um, I not only delivered flowers, I picked up the flowers. And we think of picking up flowers at a wholesale house today, or maybe having them delivered long distance by somebody direct. Where did I pick them up? The Greyhound bus station.
Because
And
that's
believe me, in the Greyhound luggage compartment in Florida in the summer, they were not cooled.
they were not cool. Yeah, at best they were not cool. Yeah.
And so I then had to take them back, and I had the job of processing. And so I get to the chrysanthemums the first time, and they said, okay, here's a hatchet. Just chop the stems off. Nothing about sanitation, nothing about
Right.
water quality, nothing about flower food. Oh, and by the way, on the chrysanthemums, once you chop the stems off to this length, they did say strip the leaves, but then smash the stems. That'll help take the
Ah,
water.
yes, the old smash the stem thing. And that has proven not to be very accurate, right?
Yeah. All it does is increase the bacteria in the water. But so as a kid, heavens, I learned all the ways not to do it, so that when I got into research and not only production but care and handling, I learned the ways to do it. And in late 90s, American Floral Endowment board members and I think one person from Soco Flores from Columbia came to me, I think at an SAF convention, and said, hey, we need to talk. and they said, even those in late 90s, our flowers aren't lasting. We're having trouble that, we're getting a lot of complaints. And I was doing potted plant research at the time, potted plant longevity research. And that was actually at the encouragement of some of the AFE board members, specifically a guy named Paul Leakey Jr.
Oh, yes.
And so this group said, hey, would you be willing to switch from potted plants to cut flowers? Along with your colleague, if you can talk to him, Mike Reed at UC Davis. And so Mike and I teamed up for about a 4-year study on cut flower longevity. And there really had not been any comprehensive studies on flowers that were shipped long distance other than trucking across the US. And so in doing so, I talked with a few of my friends in Miami. And one of them, I said, so how would you do this? He said, well, I would look at it as being a very large elephant. Take that elephant apart and put it back together and see which pieces really matter and ignore everything that's ever been done. And we did that. And we found things that, like underwater cutting. Some people got quite frustrated that I would say, do not cut underwater.
Oh yeah, because everybody was saying that was the answer and offering underwater cutting machines.
Yeah, and so one of them got quite frustrated, and I said, okay, I'll make a deal with you. You go back. She had a person in the back of her retail florist cutting underwater all day, every day, and processing. So go back. Don't let him cut underwater. Just cut dry and put him directly into a good flower food solution. And I said, we'll talk in a month. And she said, I called her and she said, darn, you were right. I don't need to cut underwater. So, as they say, the rest is history.
Well, we had lots of pennies in the water and aspirin in the water and
Yep.
all those things. I'm not sure they did anything.
There was also one at one point to add, it said either vodka or gin, one of the clear alcohol drinks. And I suggested to my department chair at the time, I said, hey, Tom, look at this article. I need to go buy a case of gin or vodka. He said, that's not going to happen.
It's not in your budget.
That's right. And by the way, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. No, and what happened, Chrysler and Floralife and all those people started making better products, and it started to work to the point where the phases weren't turning ugly or the water wasn't turning nasty and killing the flowers. And I like many people I'm around, they've been in the business. I go to somebody's house and if I see flowers and I see foliage in the water, I'm like, you got to fix that. You got to fix. Why? I said, because it's going to ruin the flowers.
Yeah, anyway, I do the same thing.
Listen, the AFE, I know that you're pretty much it when it comes to AFE. Although you built a nice organization that you're, put in place as you move on to the next adventure. And I think we should talk about the endowment, because the endowment is something, in this business, often you're out there, begging for money, trying to figure out how you're going to get funds to do something or another. And this really shouldn't be a case of begging for money, because people, it's such a worthwhile cause that you are doing here with the endowment. You're bringing new people into the bit. I mean, I can't even tell you all the things you've done, because it's pretty elaborate, all the ways that the endowment has, put seeds back into the business and planted those seeds. It's quite impressive, and I support or suggest to everybody that they should be involved in the endowment. It's seeds for our future. It's what it is. You're planting those seeds and bringing new people into the business. And at WFSA, at SAF there was what over 100 and some people, first timers. I don't
Right.
I don't know how that equates to young people, but like what they're doing with next gen and different things that's going on. I mean, I'm happy to see young people getting into the business, because it's been one of the problems that we've had is trying to recruit people.
Yeah, well, first, AFE is far more than just research.
Yep.
I'm connected on the research side, but there's scholarships and there's internships. And the board has kind of termed it, when you support AFE, you support the future of floriculture. And it's true, from those three aspects. There's also an education fund. And your parents established a scholarship fund, and
Yep.
it's still there. But the unique thing about AFE is, yeah, there's a big effort to continue getting industry to support AFE. AFE was established in 1961, so it's 52 years old. No, 62 years old.
Yeah.
And the money that was given in 1961 is still invested.
Really.
AFE does not spend the money that is given. It's invested very carefully so that in downturns, you don't lose a bunch of money. And you could have some people who get overly excited and invest it the wrong way, and you lose a lot of money.
Mhm.
But they've got a investment firm plus some pretty smart board members who are overseeing all this. So that money's invested, and AFE pulls out 5% per year. The rest stays in there in the investments. That 5% goes to support the research scholarships and internships. Now, why why continue to seek support? When you look at the way that's calculated, for us to support a $50,000 scholarship, it takes $1 million investment.
Hmm.
And I mean, that's a good thing. It's there forever. And
Oh, that's
if somebody can give it with, great faith that I'm just not throwing it away, you're really building the future of floriculture. And so, as I look at it, if we can get people to support AFE, and there's a lot of industry people who do, then we simply build a bigger portfolio that allows us to do more. We could support, and I'll speak for research, we could easily support 4 or 5 more research projects or more every year, but we don't have the money invested. To support 4 more would take $4 million more.
so you
So
you invest that money and then use the proceeds of that money to
correct.
fund the
Correct.
research.
And with the research projects, we have a call for proposals, and university faculty are encouraged to write proposals. They send them in, and it's not just, oh, we like this one or we don't like that one, and the research committee makes that decision. Not me or the research coordinator, Laura Barth. We don't make those decisions. We kind of facilitate the whole thing with one staff member who does all the paperwork and calculations. Thank goodness I don't have to do it. And the AFE Research Committee and the SAF Grower Council are given those proposals, and they rank them numerically.
Okay.
And say which of these are, I say, industry relevant. And if they come up, in the top 5 or 6, they're probably going to be funded. This year is probably going to be 3 or 4. But the board really wants what's funded to be of importance to the industry now.
And that funnels down from these committee meetings and stuff about what problems people are having. I've got a problem with the thrips, or I've got a problem with some botrytis or whatever, and you then decide based on the importance of that whether you can get funding to do some research, and it works. Apparently you get results.
Yeah, it works. I think that's been one of the real changes in the last 10 years is the push. Let's make sure we're doing things that are directly of value to the industry. So like the thrips and botrytis projects that was supported by 24 different companies and growers and so forth, that project was brought to us by the industry, or brought to me. I mean, because I know the people.
Right.
in the industry, and somebody said, we're getting killed by botrytis. And indeed, I don't care if you're grower, wholesale, retailer, or even consumer, you don't like to see botrytis.
No.
It's premature death. And so I was at one trade show talking to a friend, and he said, I was talking to him about botrytis, and he said, Terril, you've missed it. So what do you mean I've missed it? He said, well, you forgot thrips. So from that, it turned into thrips and botrytis.
Okay.
And then we sought the support of industry. It was a 5-year project. It was really modeled after what Robert Wood Johnson Foundation does for medical research. And 5-year project. And out of that has come some very good new control measures. And so in that case, we knew we had the support. The industry or the board supported it. And they weren't sure this would work, but it has worked, thank goodness. And so we then went out and found the researchers to do the work and asked them to write the proposals. And to get support, we had to write a 2-page summary, say, here are the projects we're going to undertake. And so we just went down the checklist and found somebody to do each one. And we wanted first, of course, expertise in either botrytis or thrips. But we wanted people who were team players and people who could speak to the industry. And
You found them.
those things are critical. We had 2 or 3 people, 4 people at any given time doing thrips research. Well, person number 1 couldn't communicate with person number 2 at a different university. We lost a lot.
Oh.
And
Wow.
we also played off of looking at what other commodities have done. Where we went for the botrytis research, floriculture is there. It's Clemson University. Jim Faust is there, and there's a guy, a pathologist there, Guido Schnabel, who, when we went there, I knew he was involved with the Southeastern U.S. group to look at botrytis on strawberries, and they'd been very successful. He'd worked on botrytis, on thrips, and on strawberries and peaches for 15 years at that point. And so we thought, hey, let's get that expertise.
Sure.
It worked.
Beautiful.
So,
well, you guys are sort of the unsung heroes of the flower business, as I like to think. I'm glad, again, that you got some recognition or have been getting recognition for the work that you've done. Because, you're behind the scenes. Not everybody sees what you're doing. And I'm happy to have this opportunity at least to, give you a little spotlight here so that the people can understand what's been going on. This is not, well, it is science. It's not magic. It's science, and it has to get done. And the only way to get it done is funding and do the research.
Yeah. And, the other thing I want to point out, I'd be very reluctant not to, is, I might get a little bit of the spotlight, but I tell you what, that support through the years has supported graduate students. It supported my staff. And were it not for those people, I couldn't have done it. And we talk about the friendliness of, at SAF and other industry events. I couldn't have done it without the support of my family.
Yeah.
They
said your wife has put up with a lot of days when you weren't there.
Yeah, a lot of days when I wasn't there. And we have 2 daughters. And so I was traveling quite a bit when they were young. I learned it was important that if they had an important event in their life, I'd fly back into Orlando for that or into Tampa for that. And so, because I found out with one of them asking me a question one day about, are you going to be able to come to that? I thought, I better make plans.
You better make plans.
Yeah.
Hey, my friend. Well, 20 minutes as always goes pretty quickly here. I do want to thank you for giving me this time, and so we can have this little interchange, and hopefully, it'll shine a little bit of light on the endowment again, because it's really what's, it's the grease in the wheels, keeps everything working, because otherwise you get problems. So I wanted to, tell me, you got something else to tell me? Go.
No.
Okay,
I wanted to just thank you for your support and help through the years.
Hey, it's been my pleasure to be, to know you and get to know you a little better and to cross paths with you. And I do love your passion in the business. It's something that's it's not tangible. It's hard to find, but you have it, and we're glad you have. And I'm looking forward to whatever else you're going to come up with. I know you're not going away, so when we'll continue to cross paths, and I look forward to seeing you next time, sir.
Well, same here.
All right, thank you for your
Okay.
time, and have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.